How does hypergamy work in practice? How hypergamy works in practice. If there are concepts that are definitely needed from the field of manosphere, then this is one of them. Pairing between the sexes is like a business transaction between two actors, where everyone wants to get the most benefit for their capital. And since it is the woman who holds the keys to starting the relationship, she must be considered as a buyer who has a certain amount of finances, values, for which she can afford to procure from the best candidate the highest quality level and range of service that the man in question can offer. No romance yet. So how do these transactional calculations work? The most desired asset, property, of a woman is beauty and youth. The more of these assets she has, the greater her ability to purchase the most valuable male. The most desirable asset a man can offer a woman is a combination of status and financial security. Men negotiate mainly with these advantages, and thus their peak value in the market comes at an older age than women. Just as a note, actors are not always capable of realistic self-assessment for the market, low versus unrealistically high self-esteem, and so good versus bad marketing often distorts this business. But in the long run, the real price is always determined precisely through market interaction. The second obstacle to clear rules is human plasticity, both in the area of relative value and in the ability and willingness to provide long-term service in the agreed quality or scope. That's why the turbulence after the initial phase of falling in love wears off. It is a kind of revaluation after the haze of acute intoxication with hormones and neurotransmitters dissipates. But back to the economy. The beauty of this Darwinian questioner lies in her coolness. A woman, on the basis of general social criteria for the perception of beauty plus taking into account men's interest in her appearance, has a fairly good idea of her worth. And based on this fact, he goes to look for goods on the shelves that he can afford. It usually comes with a list of criteria such as a man's appearance, his status, finances, skills, connections, knowledge, sexual abilities, etc., and marks all the suitors. The guy with the highest score, sometimes several at once, becomes the partner or lover. A man has minimal ability to intervene in this process other than by working on his market value or by faking it. She is a woman who buys. And if the woman is in her late teens or early 20s and scores a 7 or higher on the beauty scale, her options are endless. With the advent of the internet, social networks, online dating and smartphones, every beautiful woman has become a commodity to be ripped off. Add to that an inflated ego from the constant compliments of hundreds of suitors, and he feels like a kid in a candy store in the sex market. And here comes the stumbling block. Bombarded by constant offers for everything, a woman forgets her primary goal, which is to find a life partner, and embarks on a carousel of penises, from which she is only blown away by a wall. Until then, she changes and chooses new and new men drooling after 5 minutes of pleasure, which she is aware of, but the intoxicating taste of constant validation is stronger than common sense. And so, instead of looking for a relationship, this activity degenerates into chasing after the best quality penis that can be secured on the market for its value. But since the prospect of something better becomes more urgent with each subsequent experience, the woman is unable to stop this carousel. Hypergamy tells her that she has more, and it is only a matter of time before the most valuable male appears on the scene. Where does all this lead? Well, unfortunately for a woman, not to an ideal life partner. The years when a woman has the highest value on the sex market, today's typical female wastes on the carousel of penises, and when she decides to settle down, i.e., to put an end to promiscuity, its post-wall value is radically lower. And I say post-ova on purpose, because today's woman decides on marriage and family only when she can no longer practice the promiscuous life of a diva, as interest in her is declining in favor of a new generation of females. Prettier, younger ones? Well, to put it simply, while at 23 her value was relatively high, far more valuable men were interested in her than at 33, when her beauty and youth, the biggest female assets, are greatly reduced. This is the result of women actually believing the feminist narrative of gender equality to the extent that they have become sexually predatory. However, they are not aware of the consequences of both psychological damage and prospects for a successful long-term relationship necessary for raising children. That is, when a 30-year-old man says that he has already seduced 40 women, people will pat him on the back for what a boyar he is. When a woman admits half the amount, she drowns in spit. The reason is her unfulfilled duty as protector of morals. As I will detail in another part of this work, young people are encouraged to spend their youth gathering experiences with different partners, in other words, to promiscuity. And a truly feminine scoring system will make it clear to the female what maximum quality and intensity of service she can expect from her ideal partner. When today's young woman decides to settle down, she has experienced 10 to 20 men. If he uses a scoring system from 1 to 10 for all the qualities he considers important in a man, if the total score of each ex-partner, summary of all items, is only average, i.e. 5 points out of 10, it is highly likely that in each of the marked categories she experienced a high grade from a certain man, although the average of all of them was only 5. For example, a man who had weak charisma could be well financially secure, i.e. he had a 9 or 10 in the finance category. Or a man who had rather low intelligence was spectacular in bed. Their final total number could only be 5, but that woman always experienced something intense or high quality with someone. So it is likely that even average men have shown her the peak in every category over the years of promiscuity. So when she decides to settle down with a permanent partner, she subconsciously hopes that she will find someone who will be able to provide her with the peak in each category that she experienced with the best X in the given discipline. Of course, this is statistically almost impossible because there are very few people who can excel in everything, so disappointment is almost a sure thing. If she has tasted an XXL penis with one of her partners, an average cock will make her laugh. If one of her exes had a beautiful apartment, and her current suitor only has an ordinary apartment, she will be frustrated and dissatisfied. This of course applies to all grading disciplines. Caviar is not missing for people who only ate sausage all their lives. And likewise, women who have had only one partner do not lack something that they have never experienced. And so, paradoxically, less experience causes more satisfaction and vice versa. Paradox of choice, Barry Schwartz. To be clear, what at first glance may sound like a direct attack on women's behavior is actually just the sad reality of two lost sexes suffering for the faults of the other. Although it seems at first glance that the woman is behind the reins, she is not the winner. There are no winners in this game, only losers. An excess in promiscuous women, the majority, is at least as psychologically damaging to the mind as a deficiency in beta males, the majority male population. Overeating is at least as unhealthy as malnutrition. And so the female's endless mating options make her life as miserable in the long run as the desert of beta male options. And once a woman decides to settle down, with who else but a beta male, they can't understand each other's needs because they have diametrically opposed flaws. Whereas women are dulled by indifference, men are so low in self-esteem due to the malnutrition of experience that courtship and subsequent relationship are defined by mental impotence, shame and frustration. As soon as a woman exceeds the number of intimate partners to 3 or more, she is no longer capable of an emotional bond with any man. She burns out and becomes indifferent. Add to that the fact that most of the relationships she had in her youth were with alpha guys, and these experiences push her into a position of mistrust and calculation. The perfect cocktail for a dysfunctional marriage. There's even a common term on English-speaking dating sites that women like to use. "I've had my fun and now I'm ready to settle down." Which translates to, "I've already been pulled over by half of the city and now I'm ready for you beta nerd to take care of a junk car with 20 previous owners." But the Americans have a saying, "You can't make a good housewife out of a whore." Whether out of recklessness or insincerity, the secret of the bad, cruel truth of female hypergamy is protected and masked as their highest priority. But men still believe that women want to honestly communicate their intimate desires in an effort to make men better. Rollo Tomasi.